Watch this.
Well, we are where we are. We're in a world of hurt for obstetrical care in the state, probably not only obstetrics, but women's care in general.
Idaho has never really been in a great position when it comes to the number of practicing doctors per capita, but it's only gotten worse. The speculation that came with the Dobbs decision now has a study to back it up. He voted for it and sang its praises. And today, Senator Mike Crapo came to town to call attention to the upside of the big, beautiful bill, and he brought with him the HUD secretary. Making toys is supposed to be fun, but for one Ketchum entrepreneur, the real challenge is getting them here. Why tariffs and container costs are threatening to take the joy out of his holiday season.
When Roe v. Wade got overturned, we were concerned that the supply of people taking care of pregnant women would diminish. We were interested in see what would happen.
Well, that concern has been confirmed. The culmination of a more than 2-year study by 2 doctors who run the Idaho Physician Wellbeing Action Collaborative. What's been known for a while now, Idaho has the worst ratio of doctors per capita in the entire country. In fact, the Gem State is just above American Samoa, according to the Association of American Medical Colleges, when it comes to direct patient care physicians. So how could we fall any further? Well, beginning in August of 2022, with Idaho's near total abortion ban being triggered by the Dobbs decision overturning Roe v. Wade, Doctors Ed McGeechern and Deb Roman wanted to see the impact the ban would have on OBGYNs in Idaho. We spoke with them about a year and a half ago. You just heard from him. In the middle of their study when they released some preliminary numbers. And at that point, they told us Idaho had lost 22% of obstetricians and gynecologists and more than half of the maternal fetal medicine specialists practicing in Idaho. They just up and left, leaving the state with about 5. Well, that study is now complete and peer-reviewed and published last month in the Journal of the American Medical Association. And their findings? The OBGYN situation in Idaho is worse than they expected.
We had 268 doctors in the original cohort, and we lost 60 the first year, gained back 2. Then we lost 54, gained back 18. So a net loss of 94 or a total loss of 114 out of that first cohort. So it's about 43% of the total cohort or about 33% of doctors net, I've left to say.
Based on what we talked about a year ago, I mean, does that shock you?
Yeah, I mean, it's, when Dr. Roman and I started this study, we didn't really have a hypothesis about what we would see. We actually thought something would change. And when we did the study, we thought we would probably see the end of it by the end of the first year. The end of the second year showed almost the same amount of doctors leaving. So it did surprise me, yeah.
For Dr. Roman,
we can bring 20 people in.
What shouldn't be a surprise is the impact is more than mathematical.
So when you lose people, 114 people out of 268, you can bring in 20 people, but that structure cannot be rebuilt in a very short time. In fact, it takes decades, and it takes cultivation of relationships where there's trust, and that takes time. I think that's one of the points, Brian, that I think is important for people to understand, is that underneath that, there's a story of our connections with each other and the stability of our communities.
The big question that I asked last time that you said you weren't looking into and wasn't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if it was part of this study or not, was the why.
It's a really great question, and it's one we need to be very accurate about understanding, because I don't think there's any one reason why that's there.
However, the study did show of the 55 OBGYNs who stopped practicing in Idaho in 2024, nearly half took their expertise to another state, all with less restrictive abortion laws than Idaho. And McEachern and Roman's work focused on doctors' well-being,
Ed and I do a lot of work around that,
has shown them some signs.
The level of distress among physicians who are trying to deal with laws that have changed dramatically, many of which are ambiguous.
Under this new section, those performing criminal abortion will be charged with a felony punishable by no less than 2 years and no more than 5 years in prison.
And trying to figure out how they care for their patients, being told that at times they're not going to be able to do what they know will help them. is causing tremendous distress.
Still, McEachern
I don't think it's a one.
doesn't want to speculate.
We spent a long time trying to make sure that this data was valid and it's accurate and it's reliable. And I don't want to give answers to a why that's sort of a shoot from your hip question, because it's a very, very important question. And it matters in that it might point back to how we make things better.
I think that's such an important point, is that this study has been brought forward so that there will be conversation. This is not about placing blame. It's not about making someone right or wrong. It's like, this is what we're facing, guys. What do you think we can do? What are some creative ways we can move forward together?
Okay, so moving forward, I asked where we should be when it comes to how many OBGYNs are practicing in Idaho, and Dr. McEachern said we should have about 300. We have 174. We should be about 300. So barely above 50% of proper coverage. And speaking of coverage, the study also found most of Idaho to be barren when it comes to women's health care. We have 44 counties across the Gem State, and 85% of those OBGYNs I just mentioned, they practice in just 7 counties, and that leaves 23 OBGYNs to cover the remaining 37 counties. Idaho trying to increase access to medical schools, that could help, but that will certainly take a lot longer to reverse what this 3-year exodus has wrought. And about the big question of why, what they didn't include in this study, they may not have asked it, but we were told there is a study currently taking place that hopes to answer that very question. Well, for months, we've told you about the adverse effects of President Trump's tax and spend policy bill, given the green light by Congress last month, from Medicaid and SNAP restrictions to cutting tax incentives for clean energy to increasing the national debt. But today, Idaho Senator Mike Crapo was back in the Gem State to highlight some of the helpful impacts of the big bill. Senator Crapo brought with him the United States Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, brought him to the Magic Valley to bring attention to the support small businesses and affordable housing programs, what they're going to have from this bill. Aspen Shumpert caught up with them in Twin Falls.
Welcome to Twin Falls, Mr. Secretary, and thank you for joining us today.
Monday, Second South Market in Twin Falls got a visit from the United States Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Scott Turner. Senator Mike Crapo welcomes Secretary Turner to the Gem State this week to highlight successful initiatives and programs supporting small businesses and affordable housing. Incentives like Second South Market, which was created through a tax incentive program called the Opportunity Zone program.
An Opportunity Zone is a census tract, a neighborhood, a once thriving downtown and rural or urban areas that has now been dilapidated, boarded, blighted, and now investment has not come into these areas in decades.
The Opportunity Zone tax incentives were created in 2017 during President Trump's first presidency.
But to see people's lives lifted out of poverty, to see people get an opportunity in this great United States of America because of this transformative initiative called Opportunity Zones will change you.
Lisa Buddick is the owner of Second South Market. She invested in the idea and with the help from the Opportunity Zone tax incentive, created Second South Market in the old Salvation Army building. She says she's seen the success.
Chan and his family immigrated from Burma in 2012 and became U.S. citizens in 2018. In 2021, he opened his own Asian fusion restaurant, Fuji Express, right here in Second South. Thanks to his incredible success over the past 4 years, he was able to purchase his very first home and move his family out of refugee housing. That's the American dream.
Turner says the Big Beautiful Bill supports small businesses by extending the Opportunity Zone incentives indefinitely. The duo then spent the afternoon in Buell, helping homeowners paint their houses as part of a self-help housing program. The program allows low-income families to partner with nonprofit organizations to build their own homes. The family's labor is considered their down payment. Heidi Howard is one of those putting in sweat equity for her home. She says she was once part of the unhoused community, and now she's about to own her first home.
My 12-year-old, he'll be 12 in January, he's never had his own bedroom. So he started 6th grade today, and I'm just so excited when he gets to wake up in his own bedroom.
The program is a model Secretary Turner says he wants to see used across the country.
Not only are you making it available opportunities for people to have a home, but you're teaching them how to build a home. The home that I live in, I love it, but I didn't build it. When you talk about building the bathroom, the bedroom, the living room, the laundry room, the kitchen that you'll use on a daily basis, that's America.
Senator Crapo says the Big Beautiful Bill boosts low-income housing tax credits to help with additional building for low-income housing.
And the bottom line is to showcase an example of what Idahoans are willing to do. We are a rugged, independent, and free people. We don't need a handout, but we are willing to work to make our own American dream.
The secretary praised Idaho's collaborative approach of bringing the public, private, and nonprofit partners together to create new business and housing opportunities. The secretary and Senator Crapo will be in Boise Tuesday to further discuss the affordable housing needs of the Gem State with other state officials. Reporting in the Magic Valley, I'm Aspen Schumpert, Idaho's News Channel 7.
A Ketchum toy company built on make-believe is running into some very real challenges. Tariffs, shipping delays, and Christmas deadlines are all adding more confusion to his business that already needs some clarification. How about some clarification on what you think about today's show? We're always looking for your comments, your questions, and your concerns. And if you're up for it, how about some of your comedy? Hit us up with a text message, 208-321-5614. Be sure to include your name and the hashtag #the208. Clean, clever, and concise. Well, that's the best way to maybe see yours shared at the end of the show.
In the morning, I swim and look for food. My sense of smell is amazing. In the afternoon, I gallop through fields with a little stop for grazing.
I've heard of garanimals, I've heard of danimals, but until today, I've never heard of a randomal. A randomal is random animal, I'm sure, but also a toy dreamed up in Ketchum, like a hork, which is a half horse, half shark, but now fully caught up in a trade war. Hunter Funk shows us how a cute, silly stuffed animal is colliding with some serious, very serious tariffs.
In Ketchum,
Welcome.
You'll find a B-Rex, a horse.
Dun. Hi, the name's Hawk. Part shark, part horse.
Among many other random animals.
Hi, my name is Jertle.
Or as Nick Harmon calls it,
Randimals.
and his Ketchum business is built on being different.
Randimals are a combination animal plush, like Hork here, and we also have figures, and we also have written a couple of award-winning books, and the whole company, its DNA is centered around this very simple message that what makes us different makes all the difference in the world.
The idea came about with his friend in 2013, but without the know-how, the bandwidth, or the finances to make that a reality, it took the pandemic to slow them down enough to create the vision.
That is the silver lining that came from COVID. We've been able to grow this business quite quickly over the last few years.
It's now gone international. In February, they began selling in the UK and Germany after a few years in just the US. But in the world of tariffs, being different can be expensive.
We had 3 containers that were stuck overseas that we were wanting to bring in to the United States because we were getting low on inventory. But as that escalation of tariffs happened between China and the United States, reaching its peak at 145%, we were just stuck. We could not bring our product over. The value approximately of those 3 containers was somewhere in the region of $100,000 in product. So therefore, at that particular time, if we were to bring it over, it would have cost us $145,000 in tariffs aside from the product itself.
Thankfully, the 90-day pause came into effect, but it still means paying 30%, or for Ranimals, $12,000 extra per container in tariffs. And he says shipping costs went up as well. Harmon has to pay it up front, anticipating the needs for Christmas, which makes planning nearly impossible.
75% of a toy business's business is at the Christmas period. So from November to December, that's when the lion's share of our profits or our sales happen. So Christmas is coming up, obviously. And so knowing what that tariff is going to be when the product arrives in October is difficult. And also, to what extent can we hang on and not pass on these costs to the consumer?
That's the reality for many Idaho small businesses. Ross Burkhart, a BSU political science professor, says they can either eat the costs or pass them along to shoppers.
The tariff rate is 30%, so that's extraordinarily high. That's as high as it's been in the past 90 years. So that's a lot to ask for small businesses in particular, who don't really have the scale to be able to absorb costs of tariffs the same way that larger businesses do.
And this Christmas, Burkhart says don't be surprised if there's less product. And what ends up under the tree will cost more.
For Christmas toys, it's 80% of the market right there is in China. So those toy prices are likely to be higher. There's likely to be a lower supply of them as well, as businesses try to guess at what the tariff rate would be like. So they try to balance that off with their balance sheet and see what they can afford.
It's an unclear path for many businesses. But for Harmon, he hasn't raised prices just yet. He wants to grow Ranimals, hire more employees, and make the product available in other countries who've already shared interest. But right now, he says it feels like small businesses are in the crosshairs.
It's really worrying. We want to scale our business and we want to, keep ordering more product and make more product. And it's hard to know what the future, is going to be.
Okay, so it's easy to say it's tough for business, but Ranimals are trying their best to keep things light. And they have a new Ranimal called Tariff. They're going to release it soon. It is a Mastiff with tarantula legs. They say they're trying, of course, to make the best of their situation. But I like it, Tariff.
A tariff. Okay, that does make sense. Yeah, they are trying to make the best of it. Now, I assume this is the problem we're going to see, because he doesn't seem like somebody who has the means or the desire to build a factory in the United States to avoid these tariffs.
This is exactly what he talked about. He says, we want to, we'd love to. He goes, but financially, China has figured out how to do it and do it well. And yeah, they can't afford to do it.
And there's lots of entrepreneurs out there that are in this situation. So, okay, so I guess the question other than that is, I'm looking at their website. The names, the Sea Dog, that seems easy, but the Zangaroo, my favorite probably, the girdle.
Yes, and his family has a huge influence on this. I guess they were watching Toy Story.
Okay, oh yeah.
Remember Sid and how he's the crazy one in that?
Yep,
well, they
that
said Sid was misunderstood, so they're letting him feel
there you go.
Like the superhero.
Okay, so yeah, see something comes out. The girdle, by the way, giraffe-turtle combination.
Yes.
Look it up.
Turtle.
Thanks, Hunter.
All right, our weekend storms and weekend cooler weather long gone today. So now we turn our attention to a heat wave that kicks off today and will last all the way through the coming weekend and beyond. Temperatures right now in Boise, 93 degrees, humidity dropping down to 23%. We're once again seeing some humidity readings in the teens across southern Idaho. So fire danger after what was a more moist weekend is on the rise again. So big picture setup, high pressure will start amplifying in from the southeast. That will allow our temperatures to climb to near record territory in some spots, and that will take Boise up near 100 tomorrow. So overnight tonight we'll drop into those mid 60s, a comfortably cool start to the day tomorrow. Not so comfortable in the afternoon, 98 degrees in the city of trees tomorrow. Across the region tomorrow, the morning will be lovely, nice and clear, but look at the hot heat coming our way. Mountain Home may hit 100 degrees tomorrow, not far from it in Twin Falls. 97 would tie a record for Twin Falls tomorrow, and the rest of our week on repeat, sunshine and hot temperatures. In fact, Boise may see the century mark by this coming Saturday.
Well, firefighters are working to get a handle on several wildfires burning across the Gem State right now. And if you haven't floated the Boise River yet this summer, well, guess what? This weekend, it might be your best chance. Here's Joe Paris with the 411.
The rock fire near Tamarack Resort has grown to more than 2,600 acres and remains 0% contained. 575 personnel are fighting this fire, and more than 348,000 gallons of water, along with more than 575,000 gallons for retardant, have been dropped to help stop the fire spread. 3 Valley County evacuation zones remain in ready status. This fire started last week, cause believed to be lightning. More than 400 firefighters are working to contain the Sunset Fire burning near Athol. That's in Kootenai County. The fire has now burned 3,200 acres. Level 3 Go Now evacuations are in effect for areas between Talatch Road and Butler Creek. Get Set alerts are in effect for homes north of Blacktail and Talatch Road. Get Ready warnings are in effect for people in Bayview. A man has been arrested for vandalizing a gravesite at the Canyon Hill Cemetery. Caldwell Police Department arrested Henry Baez for repeatedly targeting one gravesite. Caldwell Police says that mounds of trash have been dumped on the site over the past few weeks, as well as digging near the headstone. Baez has been charged with malicious injury to property and desecrating a grave. Summer is winding down, and so is float season. If you haven't floated the Boise this summer, this weekend is the time to do it. Beginning today, equipment rentals at Barber Park are now only open Friday through Sunday for the next 2 weeks. Shuttle bus services will not be running when equipment rentals are closed. Parking will be free at Barber Park on those days. The last day that you can rent floating equipment is Monday, September 1st. That's Labor Day. After Labor Day, all floater services will be closed for this season. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Joe Paris.
All right, Tracy has a comment about the benefits of the big, beautiful bill. She says, well, this story on Crapo, it suggests the bill's a reason there's some housing for low income being built and the second market is happening. Seems pretty quick. Well, I think what this was saying was that programs like this will continue because they were in that big, beautiful bill. So they will continue now. If those are abortionists in particular that you're talking about, then good riddance, says Mike. I challenge you, Mr. Holmes, to show what the percentage of why and what percentage of abortions are performed for what reason. Well, we know it's only like 3% of what a gynecologist does, but if they leave, 100% of women's services go with them.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.